wrongfully convicted 40 Americans of drug charges based solely on the false testimony from an undercover police officer. She fought to have them exonerated, and she won them a $6 million settlement for that miscarriage of justice, Mr. President. She's defended 25 children who'd been separated from their parents and thrown into prison-like conditions at a private detention center in Texas. Her success in that case forced the center to improve its conditions and prevented more kids from being held there. President Obama recognized her leadership by making her the top civil rights official at the Department of Justice, where she prosecuted service members from eviction, cracked down on human smugglers and sex traffickers, defended religious freedom, and protected Americans' fundamental right to vote. And over the past 4 years, Ms. Gupta has led the largest civil rights organization in America, where she's been at the forefront of efforts to reform our criminal justice system, strengthen our democracy, and make sure COVID relief reaches those who need it most. That is her record. It's an outstanding record. And I think my colleagues on the other side of the aisle know that it's an outstanding record because they don't want to contend with her record. They don't want to contest her record. They can't defeat her nomination with the truth, so they're just using talking points that aren't true. I heard the junior senator from Texas say that Mrs. Gupta's record is that of an extreme partisan ideologue. He called her an extreme political activist, a radical, and a zealot, when all she's done her entire career is uphold the rule of law and defend our democracy. Just like the 60 judges, many of them confirmed by Republican colleagues who rejected President Trump's utterly unsubstantiated claims of fraud in the 2020 election. And just like the election officials who stood up to conspiracy theories about the election at great risk to themselves and their careers, who were all undermined by radical members of Congress who sought to overturn the will of the voters for their own power. I also heard the junior senator from Texas say Ms. Gupta's beliefs don't align with the majority of the American people. I'm willing to bet every single dollar in my pocket that most Americans are quite aligned with Mrs. Gupta's views. Most Americans are very interested in having a Department of Justice that protects their right to vote, that keeps families together and kids out of prison-like conditions, that makes sure that LGBT sons and daughters and neighbors can live free from discrimination. And I'll tell you one other thing. Unlike some people around this place, Mrs. Gupta actually has a record of reaching across the aisle to get things done. She worked with Grover Nordquist and the top lawyer for the Koch brothers to pass criminal justice reform. It's why they both endorsed her, along with President Bush's former Secretary of Homeland Security and virtually every major law enforcement organization in America, including the Fraternal Order of Police, the National Sheriff's Association, the Major County Sheriffs of America, and the Major City Chiefs Association. So it is hard. It is hard to take seriously all this talk on the other side about how Mrs. Gupta wants to defund the police. She's never supported that. When someone asked the head of the Fraternal Order of Police what he thought about these attacks, he called it partisan demagoguery. And that's exactly what it is. And he's right. There isn't a serious debate about her record. It's a political campaign to defeat her nomination. And the American people see through it, and I hope my colleagues will see through it as well. We would be lucky to have someone with Mrs. Gupta's experience and leadership at the Department of Justice. Many years ago, I had the privilege to work at the department, and I know how seriously the men and women there take their jobs, and I know how grateful they would be to serve along someone as talented and committed to the mission as Mrs. Gupta. And it's why I believe tomorrow we should come to this floor and give her a resounding bipartisan vote to confirm her as the next Associate Attorney General of the United States. I urge all of my colleagues to put aside the rhetoric and the false claims. Look at the record for what it is, the police organizations that have supported her, and vote yes for her nomination. With that, Madam President, I yield the floor, and I note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin.